Let's say that I have a company, I have some teams, probably a startup or a mid-sized company, a little bigger than a startup, and I see that there's a lot of command and control. I see there's not very empowered teams. There's not a good time to market or to money. And I call Jürgen, right? Jürgen, help me with here. We have an issue. We need a transformation. How would you approach the transformation? Like I think that you have done probably this. I don't know if this is part of what you do normally. No, you don't consult for companies.
No, no,
Okay,
I don't do
what?
that.
Well, I still would like to hear your opinion. What do you think? How would you start? Like, what would you do? What would be the advice, right, for this company or the steps
Yeah,
to have a transformation?
right. So I get that question every day. Literally, I got it. I got it yesterday. I got it before the day before. It's a very common question. Where do we start? But my answer is, if you is like asking me, I want to redesign my house. Where do I start? Well, I have no idea what your house looks like. It really depends on your house. So we have to walk through your house, and I need to understand the entire house before I can even offer advice that makes any sense. But in general, that being said, I like thinking of the famous innovation adoption curve by Rogers, who said that any change goes through stages of innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then the laggards. And you need to begin with the innovators and the early adopters. Who are the most enthusiastic people? That's where the change begins. And it could be that the CEO is the most enthusiastic person. It could also be that the HR person is the most enthusiastic, or maybe a couple of engineers on some of the teams are the ones who want to try things out. That's your starting point. So it could start anywhere in the organization. The guiding principle is begin with the innovators, those who say, okay, let's roll up our sleeves. We love introducing something new. We like experimenting with new ideas. And then you have to get them on board. Maybe organize an informal community of practice with each other that you could call the beginnings of an agile transformation community or something, where they talk and inspire each other and begin with the lowest hanging fruit. Or what are the simplest things that we could change that could have an impact on how people behave? And that does not necessarily have to be anything related to process or team structure. It could be very simple things like, okay, what kind of equipment do we have? What kind of tools do we use that enable us to communicate better with each other? Because everything depends on communication. And while the Agile Manifesto says individuals in interactions over processes and tools, that is all very well, but we need tools in order to communicate among each other as individuals in interactions. I mean, we now use the English language for communication. That's a tool. You're using Restream Studio. That's a tool. Otherwise, we cannot have this conversation. So we need to figure out which tools, which infrastructure is going to help us have more transparent, open conversation with each other. Maybe that's a starting point. It could be. You can start anywhere, but find the innovators in the excuse me, find the innovators in the organization and get them together. Form an informal guild or forum, as I call it, and let them start thinking and experimenting with simple things that don't scare anyone else yet. The simplest things, the low-hanging fruit. You can always do the difficult things later on, but You want to show early success, as they say in change management. Small steps, show the early wins, and then you will get other people interested, and then you will have more people on board, and then you can start tackling the somewhat more complicated things. Like moving a manager around is not something you could do probably on the first day, because this is about territory, this is about power and influence. That's not an easy thing, not an easy starting point. But other things, like swapping one communication tool for another because another is easier to use, that could be simpler. I don't know, it depends on what you're doing.